floodlights died at 4,000 meters. The hydraulic arm shuddered beneath her gloved hands.
Not darkness, but the complete absence of the concept of visibility itself. Then the lights returned, and the trench floor materialized beneath them like an alien moon.
The benthic oracle hung suspended 15 meters above a landscape that had never known sunlight.
Black smoker vents pulsed with superheated fluid. Blind shrimp clustered around these thermal chimneys.
Yuki rotated the external camera, scanning the debris field that had brought them to this depth.
The numbers scrolled with mechanical indifference, quantifying an environment that resisted human presence.
They found the target in a depression between volcanic rocks, an object inconsistent with 16 months of submersion. A bacterial film pulsed with faint light, an organized structure feeding on trace electrical current.
She extended the manipulator arm to its full reach, moving with underwater slowness.
The manipulator scraped with archaeological precision, revealing the object's custom-fabricated contours.
She glimpsed something that didn't belong in any military manifest.
A charging port. Aluminum edges.
She selected a fiber optic camera probe, guiding it toward the housing seams, searching for a gap.
The probe pushed through into an interior space, revealed in fragmentary detail.
And on the back panel, the word mark of a device that didn't exist yet. iPhone 18 Pro.
The current year was 2024. She had carried an iPhone 15 until it failed under pressure.
Yuki withdrew the probe and began the extraction sequence. The claws closed with calculated pressure.
The housing separated from the sediment that had cradled it. The computer compensated for the added weight.
And as it cleared the sediment, Yuki saw the final detail: a depth gauge. The needle matched their position exactly. The submersible began its ascent. Patience was required. Hours of gradual decompression awaited.
She watched the housing recede, the object becoming smaller but no less impossible with distance.
At 3,000 meters, they entered a region of bioluminescence, a cosmos of the deep.
The navigator monitored their ascent with obsessive attention. The mathematics allowed for no margin of error.
The external hull creaked and groaned as the titanium expanded. Every joint flexed in ways engineered.
The pilot engaged the ascent thrusters. The batteries showed 70% charge, sufficient for the remaining climb.
At 500 meters, the ocean became something humans could theoretically survive in for minutes rather than seconds.
They passed through the thermocline, a jump of 15 degrees in less than 5 meters. The viewport fogged, then cleared.
At 50 meters, they could see the hull of the Midgard suspended above them like a floating island. The submersible broke the surface with a surge. Yuki saw sky, actual sky, clouds, and the harsh brightness of equatorial sun.
The surface crew deployed the recovery boom within minutes, positioning the lifting equipment above them.
But Yuki's attention remained on the cargo basket. The crane operator worked with practiced efficiency.
The basket began to rise from the water, kilograms of ocean pouring away to reveal the housing secure within.
The basket touched down with a metallic clang. The crew unhooked the lifting cables.
Yuki climbed out on unsteady legs, making her way across the deck to where the housing rested.
High-pressure jets stripped away the bacterial biofilm, revealing the careful engineering that had gone into its construction.
Yuki nodded. 2 crew members approached with specialized tools for opening sealed containers.
The pressure seals resisted, then yielded with a series of metallic pops.
The housing lid separated, lifting away to reveal the internal framework and the transparent polymer case suspended within.
The crew fell silent. There, visible to everyone, impossibly present and undeniably real, was the smartphone.
Yuki reached into the housing carefully. She lifted it into the equatorial sunlight, turning it so the device was visible from every angle.
He held it next to the recovered device. The differences were subtle but unmistakable, refinements that wouldn't exist for years.
Yuki carried the case to the Midgard's electronics lab, a climate-controlled space below decks.
A Middle Eastern woman began documenting every visible detail. The documentation process took nearly an hour.
Then, because the impossible demanded investigation, she connected a power cable to the charging port.
The LED indicator brightened immediately, its pulse accelerating as current flowed. The device was accepting charge.
Yuki watched the indicator for several minutes, ensuring the charging process remained stable.
Yuki left it connected and returned to the deck. The sun had moved westward, creating long shadows.
She stood at the rail and looked out across the ocean. This was different. This was deliberate.
The East Asian crew chief approached, his tablet displaying analysis. Manufacturing marks suggested fabrication in Southeast Asia.
The depth gauge showed signs of recent calibration, suggesting it had been installed shortly before deployment.
Her finger hovered over the power button. She pressed it.
The screen flickered, then filled with light. The startup sequence played, familiar but wrong.
The device booted into its operating system. The home screen displayed a single app icon labeled with a date, June 15, 2027.
Yuki opened the app. A video file, high resolution.
The video ended, replaced by a text message that filled the screen.
The paradox is stable. Deploy on recovery date minus 18 months. Grid coordinates attached. Do not attempt contact. She found the coordinate data. Precise GPS location and depth measurements. The same point where they'd recovered the housing.
The screen went dark as the battery exhausted itself. Yuki stood holding an object that shouldn't exist.
She placed the device back in its polymer case and sealed it carefully.
Then carried it to the ship's secure storage locker.
Outside, the equatorial night descended across the ocean with tropical swiftness.
And Yuki understood, with certainty, that in approximately 8 months, she would return and place this device where they'd found it.
The stars emerged overhead, light that had traveled for years to reach this moment.
The ocean moved endlessly beneath the ship, indifferent to human mysteries, continuing its ancient circulation patterns.
Tomorrow, they would return to port. The salvage company would debrief the mission. And the iPhone 18 Pro would be documented, analyzed, and eventually returned to her custody as the primary researcher.
For now, in this present moment, all she could do was complete the recovery and document the impossible.
The question persisted, a silent hum beneath every thought. What circumstances required this paradox?
This is the exact location based on the coordinates.
Oh, confirmed. It matches the manifest.
Good. Navigator, please mark this point for the route.
All right, bring it down steady.
Watch the port side!
Looks good, set it down.
The hatch closed. The surface world receded. The descent began. They descended through the lightless layers, retracing the path of a recovery that was now a delivery.
The trench floor materialized once more. The alien landscape was a place she now knew intimately.
They maneuvered to the GPS coordinates. The natural depression waited, an empty socket for the key they carried.
The housing touched down. The depth gauge now recorded the moment of burial, not recovery.
She completed the delivery. The loop was closed at the point of origin.
The ascent began. Patiently, they rose from the abyss, leaving the paradox nestled in the eternal dark. They returned to the world of light and air, carrying only the memory of the circle they had drawn in time.
The paradox was stable. Cause and effect were locked. Her role was complete, yet to begin.
official channels moved slowly, inevitably, toward the date on the phone, June 15, 2027.
Life continued. The secret became a part of her, a hidden rhythm beneath daily existence. 3 years passed. The future described in the message had become her present.
All stations, level 1 alert. We proceed as planned.
Aye, Captain. Maintaining depth.
She lifted the case, showing it to the camera. Every movement was a rehearsal of a memory of the future.
She placed it into the housing, sealing the compartments with the certainty of someone following instructions to the letter.
She ran the final checks on the depth gauge, the same gauge she had seen pointing to their recovery depth.
Do not attempt contact. The message was clear. She was not to seek answers, only to ensure the delivery.
This time, she would not make the dive. Her part was preparation. Her past self would make the retrieval.
The submersible began its descent to the coordinates she provided, carrying the object she had prepared.
The housing was delivered. It came to rest in the sediment, beginning its 18-month wait.
The loop was secured. The message was sent. Her younger self would find it, and the cycle would renew.
Do not attempt contact. She erased the record, leaving only the physical object as the message.
A salvage expert named Yuki Tanaka studied the sonar sweeps. An anomalous signature in grid sector 7 Alpha.
The floodlights died at 4,000 meters.
An object was recovered. A mystery was unlocked. A paradox was set in motion.
Discovering what she would later hide. Recovering what she had never lost.
The anomalous EM signature was a geological phenomenon, the report concluded. The phone remained in her private custody.
She carried the future in a locked case, a silent passenger through the mundane present.
Life assumed a strange duality: the surface routine and the subterranean knowledge of the deep-time secret.
She sought answers in theory, finding only descriptions of the things she held, not explanations.
Her destiny was anchored to that specific patch of seafloor. She could not leave.
The mission was mapped in her mind, a memory of a future action becoming a present plan.
Every seam, every bolt was a recreation, an act of faithful copying from a memory of the future.
The core of the paradox was handled with reverence, the sacred object for its recursive journey.
The artifact was ready. It contained its own origin story, waiting to be planted so it could be dug up.
We are placing a long-term environmental sensor.
Gusto ka alis mo now. Siffy?
The burden of choice vanished. She was not deciding. She was fulfilling a contract signed by her own future self.
She had been the middle chapter, the connector between the discovery and the origin.
The evidence of the loop was not the phone. It was the change in the woman who found it. That was the real message.
The deep had left its imprint on her, not as a scar, but as a lens through which she saw all of time.
And somewhere in the darkness, in the silence that predates thought, the loop waited.